More with parallel lines. So this is just more working with parallel lines. And for the first example is what can we conclude about the number angles? Now, what I would do is they try to throw you off by they give you a set of parallel lines, and then they throw in two transversals. So here's what I would do. I would draw or sketch your parallel lines, and then I would draw one transversal. So you can just focus on like that one angle that they give you. Now, if you just draw one transversal, all you can see at a time there is angle number 1, okay? So that means if you just see that one angle there, you really can't conclude anything about angle 1. You can't compare angle 1 to angle 2. You can't compare angle 1 to angle 3, okay? Because you cannot compare those to anything because that one transversal in the parallel lines, there's no relationship with those. So if we get rid of that transversal, and now if we draw our other transversal, so let me make this line a little bit bigger. Now if we draw our other transversal, now we can add in angles 2 and 3. Okay, so with that transversal, that creates angles 2 and 3. So now we can make a conclusion about 2 and 3. So my advice, anytime they give you a shape, draw your parallel lines, because you have to make a conclusion about parallel lines, and draw one transversal at a time, and only the angles that are created with those angles, okay? So now we have angles 2 and 3. Well, those angles are same side interior angles. So we would say angles 2 and 3 are same side interior angles. Okay, so we'll just abbreviate there. So angles 2 and 3 are same side interior angles, which means that they would add up to be 180 degrees. Okay, so find the indicated angle measures. Okay, so on these examples, we have a parallelogram. So because we have, and which is what example 3 is going to get to, but notice we have opposite sides are parallel because we have the arrows here. Okay, we got the arrows and the arrows. That means both sides are parallel. Okay, so since both sides are parallel, that means that y and 65 degrees, those are going to be congruent angles. Okay, so y is going to be 65 degrees. Okay, on B, it wants us to find the measure of G and H. Okay, well, if we have that this is 60, so we know that these lines are parallel and these lines are parallel. Okay, if this is 60 degrees right here, then we know that this angle, those angles are same side interior angles. So those two angles would have to be supplementary. So that angle, you would do 180 minus 60. So angle H would be 120 degrees because 180 minus 60 is 120. Okay. And this angle and this angle here are also same side interior angles. So those two angles would have to add up to be 180, which means angle G would have to be 60 degrees. Okay, then on example C, we know that if we know that this angle and this angle are same side interior angle, okay, we could use that fact. We know that angle M, even though it's not asking for angle M, we know that that is 130 degrees, which means that this angle would be 50 degrees. Okay, so basically we now know that opposite angles are congruent like that. So we could do 2x equals 50 degrees, divide by 2, so x equals 25. Okay, So what we've already kind of discovered is that parallelograms, as it says in example 3, parallelograms have opposite sides that are parallel. Use this fact to solve for variables. And we know that opposite angles, we've been learning that opposite angles are congruent. We just discovered that. So it wants us to find x and y and find angle A and angle B. So we got a lot to find on this first example here. So let's find x to begin with. So we know that this angle and this angle are going to be congruent. So we can do 3x minus 32 equals 2x. So if I subtract 3x, we'll get negative 32 equals negative x. So if we divide by negative 1, we'll just get 32 equals x. So that gives us x. Then if we find y, let's go ahead and find y. We can do 4y equals y plus 87. If I subtract y, we'll get 3y equals 87. We'll divide by 3. And so 87 divided by 3 is going to be 29. And then it wants us to find angle A and B. Okay, so if we find angle A, we would do 3 times x, so 3 times 32 minus 32. And that would give us 64. So there's angle A. And then it wants us to find angle B. So 4 times y, which is 29. And that's going to be 116. Okay. All right. Now, on B, it wants us to find x, y, and z, and to find each angle. Okay, so now we got to be careful. We can't just set opposite angles equal because we have a lot of unknown variables. We can't do x equals 2z. We can't do y equals z minus 15. But what we do know here is we can use these. We know these added up will equal 180 because these are same side interior angles. So I'm going to do z minus 15 plus 2z equals 180. So z plus 2z is 3z. And I'm going to go ahead and add the 15 to 180. So that's going to be 195. And now I'm going to divide by 3. So 195 divided by 3 is going to be 65. So I've got my z equals 65. And I can go ahead and find my angle here. So I can do 65 minus 15 to get angle D. So 65 minus 15 is going to be 50. So this angle here is going to be 50 degrees. And I can do 2 times 65 right here. So 2 times 65 is going to be 130 degrees for angle C. Now I know this angle up here is going to be 50 degrees. So angle B and Y are going to be 50 degrees. That's going to be the same. And then because remember opposite angles here are going to be the same. Same thing over here. This is going to be 130 degrees. Okay. All right. Now, for this, I know that this angle here is going to be supplementary to this angle, to my red angle. Now, with that being said, I know that this angle is going to be supplementary to this angle. Okay? So, and actually, let me switch that. Okay? I know that this, oh, I meant to use blue. I know that, no, I did it again. Okay, I know that this angle and this angle are corresponding angles, okay? Because this is a parallelogram, okay? These lines are parallel, okay? So this angle is 2x plus 100. Those are corresponding angles. And these are corresponding angles. What I just marked in the red, those angles are corresponding angles, okay? So since I know those are corresponding angles, I know these angles are supplementary because they're on the same line. So I can take 2x plus 100 plus 2x plus 60. I can add those together, and I know that they're going to equal 180 degrees. So 2x plus 2x is 4x. 100 plus 60 is 160. And, of course, it's equal 180. So now I can subtract 160. And I'll get 4x equals 20. Divide by 4. And x is going to equal 5. So it wants me to find x, and it also wants me to find angle A and angle D. So if I find angle A, I would do 2 times 5 plus 100. So 2 times 5 is 20. 20 plus 100 is 120. And then I do 2 times 5 plus 60. So that's going to be 10 plus 60, which is going to be 70 for angle D right there. Okay, so then example D. Remember, opposite angles are congruent, so I know these two angles are going to be the same. So I have 2x plus 40 is going to equal 70. If I subtract 40, I'll get 2x equals 30. I'll divide by 2. So x is going to equal 15. And I know that these two angles are going to be the same. So I can do 110 equals 5y plus 15. If I subtract 15, I'll get 95 equals 5y. And then 95 divided by 5 is going to give me 19. Okay, so now one that looks a little bit different. 3 vertices of a parallelogram are given. Find the coordinates of the remaining vertex. Okay, so let's zoom in and make our graph a little bit bigger here. Okay, so when you're given a problem like this, you need to plot the points on a grid so you can see where they are, because we're going to have to use slope. So for A, if I plot my points, I'm going to plot -4, -2, -3, +1, and then +3, +3. And I can see that I'm forming a parallelogram. Now, I can see that my point is going to be kind of, somewhere right in here. Okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use slope. Okay? I am just going to count, and I can see that from here, I'm going to just count down and over. So I went down 1, 2, 3, and left 1. And so that's all I'm going to do here. So 1, 2, 3, left 1. And so there are the coordinates of that new point. So the remaining vertex, my coordinates are 2, 0. And so that would be my new point. There it is. And so here's my parallelogram. Okay. All right, so I'm going to erase that so we can do the next one. Okay. So let's plot the new coordinates here. So I've got -1, +4, +5, +6, and 8, 0. Okay. Okay, so we just count your slope, how you got from one to the other here, okay? So once again, we know that it's going to be, kind of somewhere, in this area right here, okay? So I would just count, going from this point to this point. So I went, whoops, it switched on me. So I'm going down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I went down 6, and I went right 1, 2, 3. So down 6, right 3. Okay. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3. So there's my new coordinates right here. So the coordinates are 2, -2. Okay. There we go. So there's my parallelogram. And that's how you would get your shape. So make sure you get some graph paper. Just find some graph paper to sketch it on so that you can just count your coordinates, how far down or up and left or right.